The latest job numbers came in today, and they've been revised down big time. Over 900,000 fewer jobs were created between April of 2024 and March of 25, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But today's job numbers prove that Trump was right to clean house at BLS, but CNN doesn't care about the facts. They'd rather smear his new pick, Antoni, over ancient posts.
We found he had posts that mocked Christine Blasey Ford, who accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault. You can see right there, he called her Miss Piggy, commenting on her appearance. In early 2020, he shared a post that was basically advice for women: land a great guy, be in shape, grow your hair, be sweet, learn to cook, don't be annoying. This one from
Angry feminist.
Of course, that's what you're going to get from the legacy media, Matt. When we look at this, right, you can't trust government numbers. And Donald Trump's out here taking crap for getting rid of the former BLS commissioner. When you look at her, she's rightfully fired.
Yeah.
And you go through and you see these numbers and you're like, well, of course, something needs to happen here.
Yeah, I want to get to Antoni, who they're trying to attack, and talk about how talented he is, which is why they're trying to attack him. But hilariously, he had a he was posting online salacious stuff. I mean, these people are ridiculous. But let's first get clear on the problem here. I mean, the problem is when we say the statistics were off. First off, they're important. This is talking about how many jobs, right, we have in this country. These statistics are used by very important bodies. This relates to what the Federal Reserve should do. So this is really important stuff. This is like grasping reality. What is the reality on the ground? What is the job situation in America? It's so important. We pay money from taxes to have an office that does this, right? Now, they just came up. They're off by 50%. Now, if you're running a business or anything else, someone comes in with this very important calculation, like, oh, we have to revise that. We actually have to, it's like 50% less. We're just a little off there. That is absolutely ridiculous. And that's why, J.D. Vance has said before, he said recently, it's difficult to overstate how useless BLS data has become. A change was necessary to restore confidence. So Trump and the administration did what you would do in that situation and say, you know what, you guys keep getting this wrong. No one trusts these numbers. You're fired.
And we look at just the numbers in general, and it's like, okay, you're that far off, right? I don't even know just where to begin, right? If normal people were this bad at their job, they wouldn't have the job, right? And yet we go through and we see, we just talked with Rebecca Zelko, and she's saying that there are 600 nominees for Trump that are still waiting to get in. Well, those are just the seats that are open right now in Washington, D.C. These are the seats that people already currently had. Yeah. And, EJ is one of these guys now that we're going to wait to get in. But it's like, if normies were this bad at their job, we wouldn't even be questioning why they're losing it.
Yes, and exactly right, Jill. And here's the problem. They're actually not bad at their job. Their job has actually been politicized, and this is happening on purpose. So if you look at election season, look at August 2024, when you're moving into that election moving in through the summer into the fall of 2024, really a year ago, you can see the New York Times, 818,000 fewer jobs than reported earlier. I mean, these people, in other words, the way in which they get these things wrong appears to be an attempt to help one side of the coin and one party, and everyone knows it.
Well, the media, though, they are mad at Donald Trump's new pick, Antoni. And you heard it there in the clip from CNN. But in that clip where the man is talking, he also posted on X, along with that image, that Trump's nominee runs, he runs an anonymous Twitter account filled with the sexually degrading attacks on Kamala Harris, these anti-gay slurs, and these far right-wing conspiracy theories, right? Like, he's probably just a normal guy. Right? If this is what they're saying on CNN about him, he's probably just a very average right-wing conservative guy.
Yeah, in terms of political beliefs, this guy's just, MAGA Maha and had an X account that is considered offensive, just like everyone in the audience does if they're on X. That's completely hilarious. Everything they go to is, jokes, memes that everyone's making, very mainstream stuff. And, he has political opinions. Great. Well, this is America, last I checked. But he also is a very accomplished guy. I mean, he is an econ PhD. We have Art Laffer in the New York Times writing about him, none other than conservative godfather, on the economic right, saying this guy's the right man for BLS because he is a serious economist and because he called in advance the downward jobs revisions in February. So what you're seeing now in the revision of the statistics, EJ, right, Trump's nominee to actually take over and give us true facts about the job market, he called exactly what was going to happen. He knew that they were going to have to revise these numbers. He saw that. He said it publicly. And, that's why the left is so afraid of him, because they've controlled this office for so long. They've been able to fudge the numbers to pretend, there's not a recession when there is a recession to help their guys out.
Well, and on that note, one of the friend of the show's, Ed Dowd, I always find this interesting when he talks about this, because he went through and he was basically like, listen, we should have had a recession, but what the Biden administration did is they went in and messed with the numbers, as you're saying, but it's all due to immigration. It's not actually the numbers that were coming in. They just had a huge influx of people bringing a ton of, the money was still coming because the bodies were there. They still had to go through and buy things. And of course, we're probably just doling out the money for them to do so. But I think that's such an important part of this puzzle to understand, is that look at that huge immigration swing that came in. And now, as Donald Trump and this administration are going to go through and they're going to start unwinding this and sending people home, keep that in mind, because things, they might be going down at some point because the numbers themselves were being lied to every step of the way.
Yeah, and look, Trump realized this. If we look at his truth tweet, his fake job numbers bit. I mean, to his credit, he was informed that the commissioner who was faking the job numbers before the election. I mean, he's very aware of this. And of course, the administration is very concerned about what the Fed is doing and this denial that we're, coming out of a recession. I mean, so we're on to reality. And what I say with this, as a lot of other issues you see today, is that there are a whole lot of numbers we need to look really closely at what we've been doing. Bureau of Justice Statistics is another one, right? A lot of these police stations throughout the country have been misreporting crime, right? What the left has done is distort reality, even when it comes to the actual numbers on the ground, to make things look as if, the reality looks different and suits their purposes. That has to end. Like we can't have a true discussion about what to do in America until we know what the situation on the ground is. And if you can't trust your government to tell you how many jobs have been added or lost, then, you can't have a discussion about the economy. So it sounds like this isn't just some nerdy point about numbers. This is a really important point where throughout the entirety of the federal government, we need to get right on what is actually going on. And that means being very careful about calculating what the numbers look like. Because if we don't know reality, we can't even have an argument about how to respond to it. And these people have tried to distort that for a long time. And that's a shame. And it's changing now. And
Donald Trump got elected in part because people couldn't afford groceries. And we were being lied to, and we were being told that the inflation number was, 5-6%. And people were like, wait, but I can't afford like ground beef at the grocery store. Something isn't adding up here. So I hope that we take this step today as the first thing of looking at it and saying, okay, let's actually try and figure out, and this is going to be, pie in the sky potentially because it's government numbers still, but at least taking one step closer to actually trying to figure out what's going on and potentially telling the American people the truth.
Yes, and remember, there's one obstacle that stands in the way now, right? They got rid of the woman who is in charge of this mess. They got it back on but is it back on the right track yet? No, because they need Antoni to be nominated, and he's already nominated to get in there, right? Same issue we'll be talking about throughout this show and others. We have to get the Senate to actually bring in 600 plus people who need to be put in place because Trump won the election, and Democrats in the Senate are holding that up. This is a guy with a great resume, perfect economist to go in there and do the job. He predicted everything that happened, and he's still going to have to wait until the Senate confirms him.
You can have a perfect resume. It doesn't matter there in Washington, D.C. They don't care if you have a perfect resume or not. They're still going to wait to make you get your place, your seat at the table.
By the way, a perfect resume to me should include an anonymous Twitter account that says spicy things, but that's just me.